What is going on, y'all? Today I have the brand new for 2024 Christmas inflatable 20-foot penguin being sold at Home this year for $200. Now, this one is, from what I hear, it's only being carried at select stores, but my store, just like all the other 20-footers, got a whole line of them in, got the initial 8. But within a week, my store, some reseller came in and bought all of them, so I didn't have the chance to get it through, go to my at-home store and buy it myself. So I did have to order this online, which honestly was no big deal. I've had a few shipped from at home in the past. Typically, something that I don't really like that they do is they slap labels everywhere and they tape the tops there. They just kind of ruin the box. And on top of that, they beat up the box too. But in this particular instance, the box is perfectly fine. I'm actually really happy with how this came to me. They shipped it nice, which I appreciate for sure. Now, if you see on the front here, this is the only tag that they put on it. It came from a store I'd say about like 45 minutes from me, something like that, maybe an hour. So it's not really something, honestly, I could have done more research and just went and drove and got it. But I mean, the price of gas as well, it's just better to ship it, honestly, but I'm not complaining at all. In the end, I think, so the initial price, obviously the set retail price for this one is $199.99. In the end, I think it was like $232. So an added with tax and then shipping, about $32. I do know that now At Home has implemented this new $150 and over has a flat fee, shipping fee of $15. So obviously their initial setup of how they don't really charge shipping by the dimensions of the item, or how heavy it is, or how difficult it is to ship to you, or what's required to ship it to you. They charge by the price of the item, which is just ridiculous. I mean, yeah, it's better for them because they're getting more money if you order something more expensive, but I mean, it should be the other way around, where if I'm giving you more money for the product in the first place, you shouldn't charge me more just because it's more expensive to ship it. That's ridiculous. But in the end, I'm very glad that they've changed that system, where now it's just, no matter how expensive it is, it's just a flat $15 fee to ship to you. Now, if you've seen either of my other two at-home reviews on inflatables that I've had shipped from At Home, on the original 20-foot snowman or the 20-foot elf on a shelf from last year, you'll know that I talked about this. Here's something interesting. At Home does not have a warehouse for their shipped materials. Basically, when you order something off of their website, they go to another store that has it. In this case, the store, it's about 45 minutes away from me, and they pick one off the shelf and they ship it to you. So in the end, even though you're ordering this online, you're really just having it sent over from another store, so it's still an in-store stock, so you don't really have to worry on if it's going to come with box art or not. However, something I did mention again is that maybe this is just a one-time thing where they actually shipped it nice, but in the past I've had them where they beat up the box and whatever. But anyway, so that's just talking about the shipping process here, but back to the actual design itself. I put out a poll on Instagram back in May or June, right around when the Halloween stuff started showing up, and we found out about the 20-foot haunted tree. I put out this poll of 4 options on what each of you thought the new Christmas 20-footer, or 20-footers, because sometimes they do multiple. For the last few years, they've done that at least, would be at Home this year. And the options that I picked were 20-foot toy soldier, because we've already had the Nutcracker, and I think the next one, instead of them redoing a Nutcracker, would be a toy soldier. Or the gingerbread man, that's one that I'm still waiting to see, or a polar bear, and of course the penguin. The penguin was one of those options, and it was just one that I just kind of thought up right in the moment, and it's not something I ever really stopped and thought about, but sure enough, that is the next 20-footer that they picked out. As you can see on the box here, it's a more cutesy penguin design. Something that right off the bat I'm not too stellar on is the size of the hat that it's wearing, that takes up the majority of that top size part, where the penguin itself is only about 15 feet, something like that, whereas that hat takes up an extra 5 on the top. So when I have it in a row with the other 20-footers, I mean, the Nutcracker's full body is going to come up with the head and the hat right there, so this one will look smaller than the other 20-footers, but regardless, it's still a pretty cool design. When we first saw the little promo thing of Christmas that At Home put out, that included this penguin, we were worried that, similar to Halloween, that this was going to be an Airflows product and it was going to be a cheap fan, and we were just going to get excited over nothing, because if it's an Airflows product, most of us would not have bought it anyway. I mean, I know for sure I'm done with Airflows 20-footers after that Frankenstein, and I also got the Uncle Sam. But thankfully, this is a Gemmy product, and it does have a base fan. Unfortunately, not a tornado fan. It does have an 80 instead of a 125 or a 200, which is pretty much to be expected. But from what I hear, it's made pretty well. If you guys haven't checked out Alex Infla's review on his channel, you should go check that out for sure, because he pointed out all the key parts of it. But overall, that's just the opening thoughts here. It's a cutesy design, but honestly, pretty cool. I'm pretty satisfied with how it looks so far, and I can't wait to get it unboxed and inflated and see how it looks in person. So let's go ahead and get into the review and start with the unboxing. So here it is fully inflated. Right off the bat, I have some things to talk about. Some pros, some stuff that I actually do appreciate about this one. It has 4 separate tether attachments. One right here, one on the back of the flipper. And then same thing on the other side. As far as for tethers go, there are 3 base tether attachments for the base stakes. There's one in between the feet there. And then there's one on each side of the back. One right there. And then one right there. Obviously there's the fan. The fan is not in the center of the inflatable like it typically is. This time they went with the same thing that they did with the Snowman family. They have the inflatable as this little extended piece. The fan as the extended piece. This has 2 zippers. One right there. And one on the bottom there, the big one that's supposed to be the same one for the fan. It's just not on the fan itself. What I think is odd is that I think they should have included the zipper higher, like on the back of the head, like they typically do. I don't know why they would put both zippers down at the base here, but that's fine. It is made entirely out of the medium thickness fabric, so it's not just standard inflatable fabric, but it's also not the colossal fabric that's used on like the 18-foot Jack and the 14-foot Oogie for Halloween. Both of those are made entirely out of the colossal fabric. I do believe that the 20-foot Haunted Tree earlier this year was also made out of the entirely out of the same medium thickness fabric. It does have the scarf here, just like the 20-foot Snowmans, both of them I think, and the Snowman family I think also does have the scarves. The hat's actually a lot less of an issue than I thought it was going to be. Like I mentioned in the beginning here, I was worried that it was just going to take up most of the top part of the inflatable there. But I think the other 20-footer that I think we're going to have next to it is the 20-foot Elf on a Shelf, meaning like right next to it, and then on the other side will be the 20-foot Reindeer. And I think they're going to go nicely. I think the Elf on a Shelf is going to be just about the same height. Actually, maybe a little smaller. Well, even though, it's the same height, but the Elf on a Shelf's hat comes to this big point, whereas his head will be about in line with the penguin's head, so I think it's all going to work out. As I mentioned earlier, it does have a YF 80, which it did take about like 10 to 15 minutes to inflate, just like with the Snowman or the Santa. They take an unusually long amount of time to inflate. But if they did put a tornado fan in there, this guy could be up in 5 minutes or less. I mean, there is still a lot of fabric to fill, but 10 to 15 minutes is just kind of pushing it, I think. Actually, while I was inflating it, I was worried, that I had a zipper somewhere that was open, but turns out no, it did take that long to inflate. So instantly, I like that it's made out of the thicker fabric. That makes it an instant bonus. And I like the 4 separate tether attachments. Now, something that I hate about a previous design that I don't think I've ever mentioned, or nobody really talks about, is the 2022 Lowe's Sitting Yeti. That one just has, again, just the 1 tether attachment on each side that's behind his big arms. just like on this penguin, like right there, and there's nothing on the front. You're supposed to like string the tether around the arm to the base, and it never works out right. So that's one of the things I hated about that design, but thankfully they fixed it with this one, as well as another design from earlier in the season. The Beetlejuice archway from Sam's Club did also have the tether attachments on all four corners rather than just one on each side, which I really do like. It's big. If you've already gotten it or you've seen it in person, inflated at your store or something, you'll know that it's just about in line with the other 20-footers. It's pretty massive. The price is another thing to talk about. Not upset at all. Obviously, there's nothing to really be upset about. It's the generic 20-foot standard price of $200. Thankfully, they didn't jack up the price on this one. Something that I don't really understand is the 20-foot, oh no, it's 19 feet actually, the 19-foot Grinch at home this year as well. It's not something that really stands out to me. I can't believe that everyone's, talking about how it's such a phenomenal design and everyone's going nuts over it. Honestly, it's one of the weaker Colossal Grinch designs out of these several that they've made now. But that one's supposed to be a replacement for the 20-foot Elf on a Shelf from last year, but it's a foot shorter, and it's honestly a worse design, but it's actually made worse. It has the, I think correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, if you know the correct answer here, but I believe that new 19-foot Grinch is made out of just basic inflatable fabric, whereas the Elf on a Shelf is made out of primarily the medium thickness fabric, except for some parts on it are made out of regular fabric. But the Elf on a Shelf last year was the same price as all the other 20-footers of $200, but this new Grinch, they jacked up the price to $220. And that's what even turns me off even more about it, is that it's not even worth the $200 price tag if it's not a 20-foot inflatable. If you're charging the same price as the other 20-footers and it's a foot shorter, and honestly a worse design, I have no interest in that Grinch at all, because obviously I got the 18-foot Grinch from Home Depot last year that I'm very happy with. That one's made very well, whereas this new Grinch that they're selling it's just a worse design. I have the 5-foot cheap fan version of it from Walmart a few years back, and that's all it should have been. Instead, they scaled it up to 19 feet tall, and it's that's a pretty weak design. But I haven't actually talked about Jimmy's new 20-foot line at home for the Christmas season yet. This is the first time I have. This penguin's honestly, I think it's a winner. I like this penguin a lot. I don't like that, the stores that are getting it are only getting one flat shipment of 8. And after that, once they're sold out, they're sold out. They don't restock. That's what made me have to go buy this online. But thankfully, I only had to pay a basic fee of like $15, which wasn't the end of the world, honestly, to have it shipped. But yeah, I'm really liking this design so far during the day. I actually can't tell you yet how many C7s it has, because obviously I can't see them during the day. I'd have to show you guys at night. So speaking of which, let's go ahead and get the night view. So now that we've taken a good look at everything, let's go ahead and rate it. So first things first, obviously design. Design, I'm gonna go with a straight, pretty much an 8 out of 10, I'd say. It's not like a perfect design, honestly. I think just with like every other design too, there's some things that I would change about it to make it more personal to me, like stuff that I'd personally like to see on it. But this is pretty much just about what you'd expect from a 20-foot penguin. If you heard just 20-foot penguin inflatable from Jemmy, then this is pretty much what you'd come up with. I mean, it's just a basic penguin design. There's nothing really out of the ordinary about it. So I think just a solid 8 out of 10 is pretty good for that. Then we got quality. I guess the one thing about the quality aspect that I actually don't like is obviously it has the 80 instead of a 125. It still inflates pretty great. It's just, it takes a long time to inflate, and I know that everyone else would have preferred it to have a 125. And unfortunately, with a lot of these designs, you can't really put a 125 in it because there's no air pockets or something, so you'd have to do extra customizing to add your own air pockets onto it to let some air out. Because I've actually made that mistake in the past. I've upgraded an 80 into a 125, and it actually, with the wind and the pressure put on it, it actually explodes. So unfortunately, unless you actually do some sewing and everything, and you have to add in your own air pockets, which it's not impossible. Obviously you can do it yourself, but you're pretty much stuck with this 80, which is fine. Honestly, I think a 60 or less, obviously if it was an Airflows product, it would have 2 cheap fans, so you take what you can get, you know. But I think the fabric on it, them going with the medium thickness fabric and the tether attachments on all the 4 corners instead of just the one on each side, I think that's all great. Lights up okay. From what I've seen. Obviously it comes with the colossal stakes, as with every 20-footer. So with quality, I'd say again about an 8 out of 10. There's nothing, I mean, again, there's nothing that I would say is standing out other than the fan that's something I don't really like about it. And then we got price. Again, I'd say an 8 out of 10. It's about the same. I mean, obviously ideal price for the 20-footers would be the original price that they were back in the day of 180, but 200, as long as they don't go even higher with that for the base model basic 20-footers, then I think 200 is just about a fair price for all of them. I mean, because at that point you're paying $10 a foot. So I think if they stick to that standard, the price will always be okay. Honestly, it's not the end of the world to pay 200 instead of 180, but overall I think everything 8, 8, and 8. I think the final score would be an 8 out of 10. I mean, it's not terrible at all. I think it's a pretty cool design. It's one of the few designs like where you see it and the first thing that comes into your head the first time you see it is what it looks like in your yard and what it would look like in my display. And the spot I picked out for it is actually back when I first saw this one months ago. It's never changed. I mean, it's still the spot that I'm going to put it in the actual display. So I can't wait to add this into display. Overall, there's all my thoughts. I think that this one's a really cool one. It's kind of cute. So if you're more family oriented and like, or if you have small kids or something that would appreciate this, I think that this is a great design for you. Great inflatable. So I think the price, obviously, I mean, the normal person that's not a collector or something would be hesitant to pay more than, I'd say, $100 or $150 to pay for something. But I mean, a 20-foot inflatable for $200 isn't honestly the end of the world. But overall, there's my review. You've been watching the Inflatable channel. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more reviews and displays coming soon right here on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Peace out. Bye.